Hey everyone, it's Night of the Living Dude. I hope you're doing well today. First and foremost, I was going to continue my Star Wars reviews. I forgot that I was going on vacation. Went on vacation to the beach, North Carolina's Outer Banks Beach. Had a blast with my wife, had a great time, and basically, when I was there, I got a cold from my niece, who happened to come along as well. We met some family out there, and I've been sick for like 5 days now, so forgive me. Trying to get my voice back up to par. It's not perfect, but it sounds a little bit better. Has that, like, Batman rumble to it, you know? Anyway, so, before I went to the beach, like a couple of days before I went, I finished up a game that I absolutely became obsessed with and addicted to. And this is a very strange occurrence to me. If you've ever heard of an Oblivion review, you probably heard people say, like, oh, it's addictive, I loved it, whatever, but it's usually from RPG fans. I'm newer to that. I've only completed maybe 2 RPGs so far, like this year. In my entire life, this year was the first year I started doing that. I grew up on first-person shooters, third-person shooters, you know, open-world gaming like Sleeping Dogs, even though I didn't play that until like last year. But Grand Theft Auto was a big part of my childhood, my teenhood, and I was obsessed. That's all I played. That and Call of Duty. And anyway, not too long ago, I was going to this store that I've been picking up a lot of games recently for the channel. And I picked up something that I had heard so much about. I had a friend back in middle school named Brian. Brian was a good friend of mine. I talked to him all the time back in the day. And he's kind of the guy who got me back into gaming a little bit. He and another friend of mine named Ryan. And Brian told me so much about this game he loved, part of the series that had been around since like the 90s, that I had never heard of. But apparently it was fantasy, and as I said, I'm not a fantasy guy at all. Not a fan of it. You'll hear a lot of reviews from people who are big fans of RPGs and, you know, fantasy in general, or Elder Scroll fans who are playing this for like the first time, but you've probably never heard somebody say they don't like fantasy. Not a Lord of the Rings guy. Just never been a fan of it. I don't know what it is. There's something about the medieval European mythological thing that just never clicked with me until I started playing this game. And let me tell you, this is very influenced by Lord of the Rings. The Peter Jackson movies, the books, everything. Not heavily influenced, but enough to it affects the viewing of it, the world they built around it, how beautiful and crystalline the picture has to be sometimes. I love that. It has its darker moments, but it's mostly kind of uplifting, heartfelt, very beautiful. Very, very beautiful. This is a game that I've never played before. I had seen a walkthrough one time after Brian had told me about it. I saw it on YouTube, and I was not impressed. I didn't want to touch the game. It being an RPG and a fantasy immediately turned me off. And that game is Xbox 360's The Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion. Oh my god. I loved this. I absolutely loved it. It's not perfect. I have my nitpicks I'll talk about in my review, but it was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. The only Elder Scrolls experience I ever had was about within 6 months or a year or so of Skyrim coming out. I bought Skyrim, and I've had it used ever since. I played it twice. Twice, man. I loved the view of it. I loved how beautiful and dark it was. I liked the dark fantasy element. That I never completed it, just like I haven't completed Fallout 3, New Vegas 4, any of that stuff. I restarted Fallout 3 over and over again when I was a teen because I liked shooters. I liked post-apocalyptic stories, being a horror fan. I liked the horror elements involved on that I didn't know were in Elder Scrolls. So Skyrim was interesting. It was really cool. Never beat it, though. Never played much of it. But it's kind of like Lord of the Rings for me. I can respect how beautifully crafted something is without being a fan of it, you know? But Skyrim I want to go back and play now, because Oblivion, I never thought I would sit here and tell you that I completed Oblivion. Not 100% or anything, but I never thought I would sit here in front of a camera and tell anybody that I beat this, that I beat the main story. I played as much of it as I could. I tried to do everything I could, but the lockpick shit in this game blocked me from everything else. Otherwise, Oblivion is wonderful. I absolutely loved it. I have my nitpicks, like I said, as my review goes on, you'll hear my nitpicks, but this game, it's incredible. It's truly incredible. It came out in 2006, man, with how wonderfully massive this game is. It came out in 2006, almost 20 years ago, dude. 3 years short of 2 years, or 20 years ago. Anyway, what is this game about? Basically, you're locked up in jail in an RPG game, and all of a sudden the Emperor himself, played by Patrick Stewart of all people, shows up, and his guards let him into your cell. Apparently there's a secret passageway in your cell to go underground into sewers to escape whatever threat is currently attacking him. Apparently there's an assassination attempt, and a bunch of this group are showing up to try to kill him. I don't remember exactly the name. It's been about a week since I finished the game, so it's kind of hard to burn into my brain, even though it's a really long game. But still, there are people trying to assassinate him, and he's trying to escape with his guardsmen. And he sees you and says, like, something really weird. Like, he's like, I saw you in my dreams. And he's like, you need to come with me. You go down in there with the guards and him, and they train you how to fight a little bit while you're on your way trying to escape. And you're going from sewer tunnel to sewer tunnel. And eventually he does get assassinated, but he sends you on a mission after he tells you that he has a son, a secret son, that nobody knew about. Even the son himself, named Martin, played by Sean Bean of all people, doesn't know that he is the son of this emperor, that he's royalty, that he needs to take over the throne. Right now, the entire world, I don't even remember what it's called. What is it? The whole land. Tamriel? I don't know. Tamriel's like the whole existence. But anyway, it's not called Oblivion. The whole world is basically in panic mode because the emperor's gone. They don't know who's supposed to take over the throne. This has only happened maybe one time, maybe a couple of times in history, but not very often where people had to actually address it in recent hundreds of years, you know? So it's kind of wild what's going to happen. This emperor runs over everything. Everything, dude. So basically your mission, once you get out of this sewer tunnel and see this beautiful, beautiful world, you need to go find Martin. And you need to tell him, hey, you're royalty. I need to protect you. We need to get you to this certain location on a mountaintop, take care of you there, try to get people on board with how you are the emperor. Now, the main quest line is only like 5 or 6 missions, but of course, it being an RPG, I never knew this growing up because I didn't play RPGs, but what I found out from friends of mine at work, friends of mine I've mentioned on the channel before, like Savon and Colton, and another fella named Philip, they all told me, you need to just explore. You need to explore, talk to everybody you see on the game, every NPC you see, to really build out the story. I never knew that, so playing this for the first time, alongside something I played right before it and completed, Dragon Ball Xenoverse, which taught me more about RPG elements. It was like an RPG light in preparation to play something like this. Going into Oblivion, I talked to everybody. I went everywhere I possibly could. Maybe a couple of places I just didn't make it to. I think I played this game for like 50 hours, dude, according to my save file. Now, I had some times I had to go do some cleaning or something, and I just kind of left the TV on until I could come back or take a break to come back or whatever. But sometimes it might have a couple of hours. That might not be that total, but I'm pretty sure I played it for over 50 hours. It is a massive game. I did a bunch of side quests. I didn't do every side quest, obviously, because like I said, the lockpicking is some bullshit. But I did everything I could. I did everything I could that I wanted to have fun with, and I had a blast. The story writing in here, the dialogue writing, all of that stuff is just phenomenal, man. The main quest is kind of lackluster, but the way it ends made everything feel so freaking good. If this was a book series, dude, it would be incredible. If all of these little side quests were just short stories and a compilation book, I would buy it. I played most of them, and I would buy it because I loved them so much, and I thought the writing was so clever on those things. Now, this is kind of my big complaint here, my biggest complaint. I kept hearing people talk about how uneven the leveling system was. And of course, you can only level up when you go to sleep in the game. And I think they did that for Fallout, I believe. I could be wrong. But at some point, I realized I'm not the best video gamer ever. I'm not the best combatist, if you will. So I was like, I'm just going to stop leveling up entirely. I played most of this game through on a very low level, and I kicked ass, and I felt great, and it made me really want to play more RPGs because of this. Now, I'm sure there's plenty of them out there that, maybe even Skyrim, that don't let you do what I did about just not leveling up and having a blast. Yeah, it probably takes some of the challenge out of it, but from what I saw, a lot of the enemies just become bullet sponges, and I'm like, why would you want to do that? So I had a blast rolling through the game, having a great time with the stories, the writing, the environments, the towns, the kingdoms that you could visit in here, dude. Just the layout, the design of them, they were absolutely incredible. When you go to underground areas, like caves and like mines that you can go through to get materials and, dungeon crawling, that kind of thing, that stuff, they were so much fun. Kind of repetitive, just slightly repetitive, but mostly really, really creative, really fun. I love when you go into like crypts and stuff, and you would have a booby trap be there. And if you were paying attention, looking at the ground or the ceiling, you'd see the shit. If you weren't looking, if you weren't prepared, you're gonna get fucked up. You're gonna get beat up. A lot of people joke about this game having the ugliest NPCs they've ever seen. They are not entirely wrong, depending on the character we're talking about, like the Adoring Fan, for example. But, I myself managed to make a decent-looking character with my character customization. He actually looks a lot like Adam Driver as Kylo Ren. It was very strange. Don't know how that happened, but it turned out that way. I really, really enjoyed this game. If I could tell you anything, I would tell you this. I even loved the other subplot that I need to talk about. That's part of the main quest, really. But essentially there are gates opening up everywhere. They're opening these portals to a place that's very much basically hell. It's called Oblivion. And you have to go into those places and stop those evil demonic entities that are coming out of there called the Daedra. And when you go through these areas to shut these gates that are opening, you have to go through like 40 minutes sometimes of just wandering around trying to kill everything you can, trying to find a sigil stone to shut these gates. That stuff felt amazing. It really did. It felt wonderful. Yeah, again, a little repetitive sometimes, but it felt amazing. Absolutely amazing. The level design for these areas, the Oblivion areas, depending on what gate you go into, there's a bunch of them. You don't have to do all of them, but if you do most of them, the level design of those places, the formatting of them, the way they look, all the hellfire, the red, the blacks, all of that stuff, it's just absolutely enthralling. I'm sorry, it just is. It's a wonderful game, dude. If you have not played any Elder Scrolls game before, you should start here. If you think the menus and stuff are a little confusing, give it time. You have so much time to play this game that you have time to learn everything, I promise you. But just don't level up. Play it vanilla, don't level it up, you'll be fine. The combat is kind of basic. It's really just swing, block with a shield, or dodge out of the way. That's really all it is. Very simplistic. I really enjoyed that. I played it as a warrior. I don't really like magic in games, not really a fan of magic in general, but didn't play as a mage, didn't play as like an arrow shooter. What do you want to call that? What do you even call that? You know what I mean. Didn't play as a guy using a bow and arrow most of the time. I used one maybe every once in a while early on in the game just to see what I liked, but I eventually got to the point I liked shields and swords, and I would just fuck everybody up with that, and that's what I did. I wish there was more gore in this and in Skyrim, like in Fallout. You know, Fallout really manages to get that well with all the dismemberment abilities. I really love that about those games. I wish these had that too, but they just don't. The cities and everything, again, they're just wonderful locations to explore, walk around. These side quests and everything, the writing of these are better sometimes than the main plot, the main quest, the main plot, whatever. I loved all of that. You can craft your own spells if you want to spend time doing that as a mage. I didn't waste time as that as a warrior, but still, I had an amazing time, man. I don't really know what to tell you without sounding like a total nerd and a geek. Not a fantasy guy, like I said. I'm not. The closest I come to that as a massive fan is Star Wars, and that doesn't really even count. That's science fantasy. I love Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion. It's wonderful. It looks incredible for being 20 years old. The biggest complaint I have, too, is all the load times. Every door, basically, that you go through are going to give you a really hefty load time that could take you like a whole minute or two to get it to load. I know that sounds stupid and minuscule, but it feels like it when you go through doors so often in the game. But another big complaint I have, too, is when you go from area to area, and this is the thing that turned me off back in the day when I was a kid watching the walkthrough after my friend Brian had recommended the game to me. You can just be outside, not even going through a door, and let's say you moved too far to the east, for example. It'll come up in the middle of the screen, the word loading. Loading, ... is what it will say. And I'm like, why? Why would you do this? Why would you put this in the middle of the screen? Not even like in the corner or something. And the actual, the bytes or whatever, the frame rate will just stop or just slow down tremendously until you get into that area and it loads. That's annoying. That's really bothersome. Even for 20 years ago, most games didn't have that. To be fair, most games weren't as large as this game. So I kind of get it. I kind of understand. It's a beautiful game. I love it. I love the NPCs. There were so many characters I remember from this game that I will never forget. Maybe I don't know their names, but I remember their faces. I remember who they are, what they were like. Love that stuff. The murder mysteries you could solve in here, that was great. The arena battles you could do if you wanted to do that. I didn't even get into the guilds. I didn't even try that. I just did other stuff I wanted to do. I tried out the Dark Brotherhood storyline. That was really cool. I really love this game. It's not perfect by any means. I think the leveling up is jacked up as shit, but everything else about it, dude, I'm telling you, even if you're not a fantasy fan, you should totally check this out. The Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion. The fact that I got this for like $7 is amazing to me. I absolutely loved this game. It's so perfect. It is so perfect, almost. It's just a masterpiece for 20 years ago, almost. Anyway, if I had to rate the game, The Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion on a 5-star basis, I would easily give this a 4 out of 5 stars. It's absolutely incredible. The storytelling is wonderful. It's just some of the execution of the kind of in-game mechanics. Like I said, like leveling up, that's a problem. That shit's jacked up in here. It just doesn't work well. But everything else, I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I'm so glad that I can say the real big RPG, like real RPG that's not Dragon Ball Xenoverse that I ever completed, is this game. And I'm so thankful for that because it was so amazing. I don't know how soon it'll be until I go back and play this again. Probably not going to be for a while. I want to play Morrowind and I want to play Skyrim again. Or for the first time, really, I guess. I want to play those. I really want to experience this. I want to play things now like Fallout 3 and New Vegas and 4. I want to experience all of those things. But dude, Oblivion took a lot out of me. It took a lot out of me because it was just so expansive everywhere you went. I was so glad there was a fast travel option because the map is humongous, dude. If you're the type of role-playing person, let's say you're talking to your TV and shit, you're going to get so much time out of this game. For real. Like, you're going to get so much time out of this game, dude, that you don't even know. Anyway, with all that being said, The Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion is wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. 4 out of 5 stars for me. Like I said, it's incredible. Highly recommend it if you haven't played it. Anyway, thank you all for watching. What are your thoughts on The Elder Scrolls, on Oblivion? I'd love to hear all of those thoughts down in the comment section down below. Are you ready for Elder Scrolls 6? I'd love to hear all that down below, too. I probably won't play Skyrim this year. I still have a lot of stuff I'd like to play and review for the channel, and stuff that I have on my most anticipated for the year list. I'm still playing Half-Life right now, so we'll see what happens with that. Anyway, thank you all for watching, guys. God bless you all. Let me know your thoughts below again. God bless you again, and goodbye.